Chris Therien, former Flyer defenseman, Snow the Goalie, a podcast that is number one in our books. I don't know how it's doing on the charts, but we're happy to have you on board here. Bundy, how are you, pal?
Doing good, Chipper. Good to be on with you guys. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't. This is odd times again, but there had to be somewhere to start to get things right again, and it was just too much, guys. I think from I think the fans. I gotta tip my hat a little bit to the fans here. I mean, this is something that started, I think, after I know Torch was calm with the trade deadline. He didn't really find too much humor in the fact that people were really drawing their ire towards Chuck for the failure of the deadline and not getting rid of Van Dreams. Like, again, I don't want to just throw that one thing out, but that seemed to be like there had to be a stick that broke the camel's back type of moment, and that's, for me, might have been it. I mean, those are the type of things that you got to probably do work on long before, and even when you get up against it. I mean, you got a guy who's here, you're trying to dump some salary. You probably would take a stick bag for him in 2027 if you could get that. But, again, that was a product of the system at the end where, I think other teams look to, and in fairness to what Torch said, I mean, where can you use him? That's essentially what I said in plain English is you can't play him on the top two lines of a Stanley Cup contender, and you're sure the hell not going to play him on the bottom two. So where does he fit in your lineup? And then there was, the other stuff that just went on. I just think, guys, it's just been a body of work over the course of a few years where the Flyers fans, I mean, this has been an organization that looks and feels very kicked in the last 3 years. And and I'll be honest with you, the fans were looking for a body somehow, some way. And I think it was a matter of them getting to Dave Scott and say, listen, we got to do something here because – when you start going to town halls, and it wouldn't be the first GM boot at one of these guys, but, I mean, it was as loud, and then they started to bring the house down on just about everybody. And I think when you open your eyes to that, it's pretty obvious what's going on, and that changes need to happen.
Yeah, once the people who pay the bills, as in buy the tickets, have spoken that publicly, it's not a good look. Do you think that, I know that Fletcher had some bad luck with injuries. I think Nolan Patrick was hurt all the time, and they had Ryan Ellis thing. He was hurt all the time. But, do you think this is ownership dictated where he would have wanted to rebuild it and start over, but instead was kind of forced into this half retool thing that never really took?
That's a really, really good question. And I'm going to go with the no on that. That is not, no, I don't think so. I think Chuck was pretty stubborn in his own right. Again, I'd like to find out more. I think what happens after something like this goes down, you start to get a little bit more truths come out. I'd like to know who advised them on these signings, long-term deals. He acquired injured guys. You can blame the Nolan Patrick on Rod Hextall. You can say what you want about it. It didn't work out. It's super unfortunate. It sets your franchise back in depth of years. You can't make up for your number 2 pick not panning out. But the other guys that they got here, you know what, guys? We acquired injured players.
Right.
We signed guys that were here a while that had some broken down parts of them to long-term contracts. This is a team, to be just quite honest with you, it's still like this is one thing that happened. I said it was like an asteroid hitting the Earth. The first thing that happens is the asteroid hitting the Earth, and then there's a million other things that happen in the months after.
Yeah.
That goes around it. So, how do you get out of the cap hell? How do you get out of improving your roster if you've got salary guys that nobody wants because either they're paid too much or they're injured and you don't know the standing of their health? And they have a ton of those guys that you really hitched your wagons to. Again, and I said it early in the year, guys, if some other guy was healthy or a couple more guys were healthy, I still don't think it was going to make a difference at the end result of this team. This is not a team that was going to all of a sudden get 2 or 3 of those guys back, and next thing you know, they're third in the conference. It's just not happening. It wasn't realistic. I've been honest for 3 years since I saw the 2020 bubble game and the Game 7, and even going back to the Giroux years. They needed to tell their fans in probably 2019 at the latest, we need to start rebuilding. We need to have the vision to rebuild. Stand with us. I know maybe you're not expecting it. The retool would have been the easy thing to do. The hard thing is to say we're going to rebuild. and then go and execute the plan and do it right. But I don't think that I think a little bit of what you said is true. They probably said, hey, listen, we need to make sure that, the corporate side saying we want to have the building filled. But I don't think that was the case by the signings that Chuck made and the long-term extended contracts that he gave to some guys that there's a lot of question marks to right now.
We're talking to Chris Therien, former Flyer defenseman who does a terrific job covering the Philadelphia Flyers. Big news today, Chuck Fletcher out as general manager, Danny Briere in as interim. I'm just wondering, Bundy, about the timing and all of this. There was heat months ago to get rid of Chuck Fletcher. Now you're in under 18 games to go, maybe a handful at home. Why now, a week after a trade deadline? Why not just hang on for a few more games and then just clean this up in the summertime? Is it the trade deadline? Is it not getting rid of JVR was the driving nail here?
No, I think it was accumulation of stuff, Nick. Like we've talked now for a couple of years, and there's been a lot of weird stuff that have gone on. And I think last year was kind of the eye opener to people. Where like, wow, like there's people are stopping coming. The building was as empty as I'd seen it. By the way, that side of things has changed. The business side has done a really great job, and where we're hoping the hockey side would come together, it appears to be a disconnect to some degree. But at the same time, like at the end of the day, it's about the product on the ice. All the other things are fine and dandy and everything, and people's opinions and visions of, we should do this or that. But at the end of the day, this is a real hockey market that the fans are very passionate about, and they want to see a good team with hopes of doing well in the spring, in the tournament. And that's really where they're at, and they haven't seen it. And I think the biggest frustration from where I look at the fans and even my end is, what was the plan here? Like, I don't know what the plan is. And I think that frustration mounted, and I'm sure over the course of the last few days, the senior people, not the advisors, senior business side, have made the decision that they were going to move on from Chuck. Interestingly enough, though, if you're a new guy coming in, like if you're a Briere and you're in there as an interim to find out what you can do, this is really an odd stage to give a guy a glimpse, because this is probably the deadest 2 months of the year in the National Hockey League. It's not trades. There's really, maybe minor deals in the playoffs sometimes that sneak by you don't even pay attention to. But, it's just a very, very interesting time for anybody to try to give a guy a glimpse, because I'm not really sure that he can do anything up until probably before the draft. And that's maybe the next time that the GM will have a look at what to do with this club.